Hello, all you beautiful human beings out there in the world. This is Jeremy Scott here with the Liberty Bugle Town Hall. Hey, I just wanted to talk to you guys really quick. A lot of things going on. We're about 20 days out from the midterm elections. Big things happening, and I wanted to do a deep dive on something that I didn't personally have a lot of understanding about, and I've done quite a bit of research now, and that's the Strategic Petroleum Reserves, or the SPR as it's known. And what I've been understanding is that President Biden has been utilizing this SPR to drive down gas prices overall to help the Democrats, hopefully, for them, towards the midterms. Well, the damage is done, Joe. You know this. Energy prices are through the roof. Things are very difficult. Gas prices now, everyday Americans, even you Democrats, understand that you can't run cover for this guy for much longer. And he's been utilizing everything that he can to hopefully, prop up his poll numbers, or to help ease some of the pain financially, to cover up some of the fact that I'm going to say this. The environmentalists, okay? The environmentalists, the green energy globalists. This is not just the Sierra Club and, the local U.S. interest. Globally, they have Joe by his old shriveled up gray balls, okay? They have Biden by the balls. They do. The special interests that helped get him elected now own that bumbling idiot. And he's going to do his level best to drive our economy into the toilet. Even Obama, during his term, talked about how energy prices would necessarily have to be drastically increased to teach us, the simple folk, to stop relying on so much, fossil fuels, and to move us towards a green economy. F off, Joe. Seriously, and Barry, and whatever you wrote in on. We're tired of it. We're sick of your shit. It's just plain and simple. It's costing people over $100, period, to fill up their gas tank when it cost half that just a couple of years ago. We may have short-term memory issues and a short attention span, but it's not that short. We remember, for those of us who actually pay for things, we remember these costs. Now, let's talk about the SPR. What is the SPR? That's called a Strategic Petroleum Reserve. That means it's safe for serious catastrophic events like, hurricanes. Nothing like that's happened lately. Oh, wait, it has in Florida. And, of course, across the eastern seaboard. There are emergencies that require us to have our strategic petroleum reserves, our oil reserves, here that we created here domestically within the U.S. Now, President Trump talked about how we were energy independent. I'm going to have to do a little bit more research and find out exactly how independent we were, but much more than we are now. And this is one of the telling matters. Now, when you talk about the reserves, number one, I'm going to say this. I don't care what your political affiliation is. National security is a massive concern across the board for everyone. You live in the country. I don't care if you lefties hate it. You still live here, you stupid bitches. You live here. I don't care how much you want to rage about inequality over your iPads and your MacBooks, sipping your lattes for $12 at Starbucks. You live here. This is the situation. National security is important, and when you rely on outside countries to fulfill your strategic oil reserves, you've got issues. And you want to talk about issues? Here's the situation. When Trump came into office, we've done the research, guys. When Trump came into office, and you can look at this, factcheck.org, just on their website this morning, taking a look, Trump was talking about how the oil reserves were near empty and had been for decades. That's not true. Sorry, Donald, it's not true. The truth is we were at 695 million barrels, okay? And that's a lot. The capacity is at 727 or 740 million. The truth is, yes, we were very low. And during the beginnings of the pandemic, when they passed the COVID-19 stimulus package and the funds that were going for COVID relief, Trump thought it would be a good idea, believed it would be a good idea, since oil was at roughly $22 or $24 a barrel, we should go ahead and top it off. We should go ahead and do it and get it back up to its maximum level because we were dealing with international issues. We were dealing with the Saudis, dealing with Iran, dealing with stuff all over the world, dealing with China. We're having a tough moment globally and domestically, and Trump saw the opportunity to get oil cheap, to top off our reserves. And what did the Democrats do? They said, no, that's just a bailout for the oil companies. I can't tell you how more vapidly stupid these people really are. I can't even get into it right now. The truth of the matter is, now, oil, right today, we're looking at $88 a barrel, roughly. I think this morning, I'll go ahead and check for you guys right at this second. Let's go ahead and check oil prices right now. Let's look. We're going to use our source because I'm going to quote our source here. Today, it's Market Watch. And $84.47 right now as it sits at 9:50 a.m. Arizona time. So when we could have gotten it for $22 to $24 a barrel, now we're going to pay 4x that to do it. But we're not topping it off. In fact, Joe has been releasing it. He's been selling it off to bring down the cost of oil domestically, or to bring down the cost of gasoline, shall I say. And I know, and I just hate talking about numbers because I feel like it loses you guys, because all of a sudden you have to do math. But hang with me, okay, please. Over 700 million barrels should be our reserve. Because of this administration's moves to utilize what should be our national security interest of our strategic petroleum reserve, they've dwindled it down to 400 million barrels. And now is poised once again, and it's no mistake. Timing is not a mistake. He's looking at releasing another 15 million barrels. Why? Well, number one, the first week in office, he shut down the Keystone XL pipeline, shut down land leases for drilling for oil and natural gas, did everything his environmentalist masters asked him to do. Shut down as much production as possible here domestically in the U.S. I don't care, Ronald McDonald, Jean Pierre, how you want to spin this, but he's done something catastrophic. And if we don't increase our own production here domestically, we're looking at a world of hurt moving forward. And he just keeps hedging, pulling down what is our savings. Our oil piggy bank keeps getting spent. Let me bring this real simple terms. You, as a consumer, you as an individual, have stopped working. Or you've cut down, instead of 40, 50 hours a week, you're going to work 5 hours a week. And what you've done is you've decided, I'm going to dig into my savings and then declare that I got a raise. That the cost of everything is now a little bit better because I've now dug into my savings. That's asinine. And the government never runs like you and I have to, with a real budget and understanding the real costs of things. Joe couldn't even tell his billions from his trillions, from his millions, from our previous quote. And we'll play it right here. Once again, Joe, what was that Energy Act, what the Inflation Reduction Act, what was that going to do again? Go ahead for me.
We passed look, what I ran on, I said we're going to deal with energy.
Right.
And the energy problem, we're going to deal with the whole notion of global warming. We passed $368 billion worth of help, which, as the same bankers talk about, is going to bring $1.7 trillion off the sidelines in investment.
Right. You feckless tool. Guys, billions, trillions, they don't even care. It doesn't belong to them. They didn't work to earn it, so they don't care how it gets spent. Period. I don't know what you have to call yourself to realize how bad that is. You want to call yourself a Democrat, a Republican, a liberal. You want to call yourself a, three-legged purple giraffe who identifies as something. I don't care. That's bad news, no matter who you are, no matter what you think you are.
If you had done it with notice, if you had called your counterpart in Massachusetts and said, Governor, we're sending you 50 Venezuelan migrants, they'll land at 3 o'clock tomorrow, do you think that might have taken some of the teeth out of the blowback and criticism?
Absolutely not. You know how I know that? Biden has dumped people all over the fruited plain in the middle of the night with zero notice. There's small towns that are getting inundated with people with zero notice. And so that's not something that they've been doing. So the issue is just simply, we had a policy when Joe Biden took office that was working. It was orderly. There's a whole cottage industry that anyone that wants to get in should just claim asylum. Most of these people clearly do not qualify for asylum, so that is being abused. No one really cared about that until 50 show up in Martha's Vineyard.
Hi everyone, it's Kevin Mitchell with Liberty Bugle Town Hall. Came across this clip the other day and thought it was very interesting the way it was presented. It's by CNN, and covering the Arizona governor race between Kari Lake and Katie Hobbs, and that was very interesting the way they put it together. I'm not sure if this is part of their move to the center, but they seem to give conflicting ideas of, is it supporting Lake or is it supporting Hobbs? In their speech, it sounds like they support Hobbs, but in the video piece, it looks like they're supporting Lake. So what I wanted to do today is just kind of run through that and let you take a look at the full video, and then we'll come back and discuss it a little bit. So I just think it's interesting.
A typical campaign stop for Kari Lake, Republican nominee for Arizona governor.
Nobody called the fire department because I think we might be breaking a few codes.
The former TV anchor headlines raucous events for a base sparked by spectacle.
Thanks, everyone. I'm Katie Hobbs.
Democratic nominee Katie Hobbs.
2, 3. Perfect.
Strikes a more subdued and conventional path, hosting grassroots gatherings emphasizing issues such as defending democracy.
Democracy is on the line. Thanks so much for having me today.
A sharp contrast in styles, serious against sensational.
From the very first day she got in the race, Kari Lake had a movement. So I personally, in a gubernatorial race in Arizona, I've never seen anything like this before.
So, I thought it was pretty good. My initial reaction when I saw it was, "Oh, listen to them. They're trying to cover for Katie Hobbs," and I don't know that was the case. So let's run through it right now. We'll give a little commentary on it and see where we end up.
A typical campaign stop for Kari Lake, Republican nominee for Arizona governor.
Nobody called the fire department because I think we might be breaking a few codes.
So that's pretty true. Those are her events. They are raucous. I think it's funny that they use that term. I think they're kind of trying to be negative with it, but they're raucous. They're lively. People are involved. As you can see, there's a ton of people out here to see Kari Lake. And I think it's because they just have a great feeling that she's going to really perform well as the governor of Arizona.
The former TV anchor headlines raucous events for a base sparked by spectacle.
Thanks, everyone.
Okay. Now, they continued with that a little bit. Let's look at Katie Hobbs. And it's interesting. Listen to how they describe it. They use words that can be used as negatives toward Kari Lake, but now they talk about being serious, conventional in how that she campaigns. But look at the crowds that are there, and just the lack of energy, not only from the crowds, but from Katie Hobbs herself.
I'm Katie Hobbs.
Democratic nominee Katie Hobbs.
2, 3. Perfect.
Strikes a more subdued and conventional path, hosting grassroots gatherings emphasizing issues such as defending democracy.
Democracy is on the line. Thanks so much for having me today.
Sharp.
You know, a couple things there. When you're speaking to a big auditorium and you've got probably 10 people there, it's not a very favorable shot for the candidate. And so that's why I'm thinking they're probably a little bit against either Katie Hobbs, or they're actually giving a fair portrayal of what's going on in the campaigns for Arizona governor. But interesting. And then the last thing that she said, which just continues to bother me, that all the Democrats are saying is that democracy is on the line, and they're the defenders of democracy, just makes me crazy. It makes no sense whatsoever. Here we are having an election which is about democracy, and yet they feel that the only way that the democracy can survive is if they win. Isn't that interesting? So let's finish this up.
Contrast in styles, serious against sensational.
From the very first day she got in the race, Kari Lake had a movement. So I personally, in a gubernatorial race in Arizona, I've never seen anything like this before.
So, and then the last bit that they said was serious versus sensational, which seems to imply that Katie Hobbs is the more serious candidate, which doesn't seem to align with the people that are showing up for the rallies. So we'll see what happens here in a couple weeks. But I think what really is going on now is we're going to transform from the raucous Kari Lake to the real Kari Lake, and it'll be exciting to see what she can do as governor of Arizona.
Abortion is effectively banned in the state right now. Tell me, is that something that you support?
I support saving as many lives as possible. And what I really want to know, and I've been waiting, I tune into you guys all the time, I want to know where Katie Hobbs stands, but I never hear you guys ask her that. I'm pro-life. My plan would be that every woman who walks into an abortion clinic know that there are options out there. They don't have to choose that. There's families who would love to adopt a baby, and right now, the way it's been going, they go in and they only have one option.
That's it.
Nobody tells them that there's other options. And I'm happy to get back to you on this when you find out where Katie Hobbs stands, because let me tell you where she stands. She supports abortion right up until birth and after birth.
That's right.
She supports if a baby survives a botched abortion, that baby die on a cold metal tray. And none of you ever try to get her to talk about her stance. So get back to me after you do.
Greetings. You know, President Biden raises eyebrows more frequently these days with his somewhat bizarre behavior. It's often disconcerting when you're witnessing this behavior to realize that this man is President of the United States of America and leader of the free world. Here are a couple of recent instances that occurred on the campaign trail in Pennsylvania. First, he attempts to answer a couple of questions that are put to him in fairly plain English. Let me cue this up for you here. And you see if you can understand how he's answering. We might need a translation at the end of this. Take a listen.
Something like that.
Mr. Fetterman, why did you decide to appear with Biden now? Why did you decide to appear together now? Sir, why don't more candidates want to be seen in public with you, like Mr. Fetterman?
Wear a suit. Where did you buy it at?
What are you talking about?
Tim Ryan in Ohio said he doesn't want you there. Warnock said wouldn't say. Do you think they're making a mistake?
No, there are 16 there I've already gone in for yet, and a lot more are asked. Another 20 or so. So I'm good.
You catching that? Let me cue this back up back here. Pay very close attention to the language that he's answering in.
Where did you buy it at?
What are you talking about?
Tim Ryan in Ohio said he doesn't want you there. Warnock said wouldn't say. Do you think they're making a mistake?
No, there are 16 there I've already gone in for yet, and a lot more are asked. Another 20 or so. So I'm going to be going in.
I don't know what you're thinking, but I'm not sure I know what he was saying. The second one, after concluding his remarks, he attempts to leave the stage. You may have seen this. And I'll cue this up for you here. He starts to leave stage right and then appears to hold a little conversation with the Invisible Man again, which he's done on occasion. Check this out. Cue the music. He executes kind of a loose about face there. In all fairness, we can't really tell if there's somebody back there that he's saluting or holding a brief conversation with, but here it is once more. I'm not showing this to make fun of President Biden at all. That I think would be rather cruel. He's obviously aging and in need of help. But because of the condition that he is in, is he really capable of being the leader of our country and one of the most powerful people on the planet? He doesn't appear to be in control of that much or enough to really occupy a position like he's in. If you recall, when Trump walked down a wet ramp and he was walking carefully, rather gingerly, the press and the left declared him infirm and unfit to be president and that he should be removed from office by the powers of the 25th Amendment. We don't hear anything about that when it comes to these missteps that Biden makes. And then the poor guy is propped up and sent back out to show that he's really not in charge of his own faculties, much less anything else. So the really important question is, who is in charge? Since Biden clearly isn't, who is? Well, for a possible answer, let's listen to the wisdom of noted economic advisor and presidential consultant Martin Armstrong from his website, which is Armstrong Economics. Now, Armstrong has quite a history of consulting presidencies dating back decades. And he wrote an article posted just recently, Biden is not president. And in response to a question about leadership, he answered this way. He said, Liz Truss just resigned, for she finally understood that being the head of state does not mean you have real power. I know certainly that the globalists behind the curtain reversed her policy, and she has resigned simply because she finally realized that Britain is run by a dark, sinister force that is connected to the WEF, the World Economic Forum. Further down below, Joe Biden is no more president than Liz Truss was the Prime Minister of Britain. Not only do we not live in democracies, but we also do not even live in actual republics. We live under an oligarchy, and make no mistake about it, they are calling the shots. The Build Back Better slogan was launched at the World Economic Forum. Never in the history of human civilization have we ever seen all the world leaders adopting that very same slogan. We are on the path to 2032. We need to start thinking about what new form of government we must create. Our current version will collapse by 2028. Now, Armstrong isn't the only one who has fingered the World Economic Forum as an instigator and perpetrator of a significant number of dubious and confounding trends occurring in the United States and globally. Here you see Armstrong points out the eerie coincidence of the commonly used campaign slogan, Build Back Better, by a disparate collection of political candidates around the world. Check it out. This slogan was not a Biden original in 2020. Look who else is using it here. It's been used in Canada. It's been used in Great Britain. Even the candidate for prime minister in Pakistan has used it. You can see the Organization for Economic Cooperation has it as one of their campaign slogans. A little Googling will show that the OECD works in close cooperation with and with the support of the World Economic Forum. So what is the World Economic Forum and who runs it? This is something we'll investigate further and in this and other presentations here at Liberty Bugle, because we believe it's critical to understand that the World Economic Forum is influencing the events of our day, and we want to know who's behind it. We at Liberty Bugle believe that the World Economic Forum is perhaps the biggest threat to our individual liberty in the United States and around the world. And it is behind much of what is eroding your autonomy, agency, and freedom. The World Economic Forum is an innocuous sounding organization that appears to want to do good all around the world. They claim to be the organization for public-private cooperation that engages the foremost political, business, cultural, and other leaders of society to shape global, regional, and industry agendas.
So it's lunacy. There's not one part of that's why I couldn't stay in California, and I couldn't definitely stay a Democrat anymore. There's not one aspect of your life that the Democrats don't want to involve themselves in of your life. The whole point is to make fun of whoever's in power, whether it's Democrats or whatever. I remember one time when we were making fun of the Clintons, and Julia Sweeney played it, Chelsea Clinton, and we got phone calls like from the Democratic Party. That's too much. You can't make fun of you can't have the children, because we put braces on her and everything. And it's like you have to make fun of the people in power, and I'm glad that they're doing it. You don't want to let a deer gets hit on the side of the road or something, and just kind of jumping around, or it's just like, oh man, it's like it's a car crash. It's like when his bike fell over.
Right.
Now, if Biden would have got up and said Putin made that bike, it would have got a laugh. I mean, the idea that the Democrats just manufactured this guy to run to become president because he was the least offensive of all the candidates,
and he's not Bernie Sanders.
Yeah.
Tell us how you get growth and what is triggering this massive migration to Florida and Miami included.
Well, our recipe for success is quite simple. We basically keep taxes low, we keep people safe, and we lean into innovation. So when you compare the Miami miracle to the Washington nightmare, you see a situation where in Washington, inflation is rampant. Everyday goods are more expensive because of deficit spending. In Miami, we balance our budget. We actually have a $145 million surplus, the most in our history. We keep taxes low while Washington keeps increasing taxes, which obviously in the case of Miami has spurred historic growth. 12% growth, which is the second most in recorded history, 1.4% unemployment. And then we focus on quality of life. Miami was voted the happiest city in America and the healthiest city in America. So it turns out if people are healthy, if people are happy, if they're paying low taxes, if they're working, they're not going to be committing homicide. So Miami's become one of the safest big cities in America. We're about to end the year with the lowest homicide rate since the 1930s. So it's a very easy recipe for success. It can be scaled to the rest of the country, but it takes political courage.
Mr. Mayor, there's been a lot of buzz about your success and about the possibility of you running for the president in 2024. Is this what you're considering?
Look, it's a long way away. Right now, I'm excited to preside over the presidency of the U.S. Conference of Mayors and try to convince other mayors across America that the Miami model works, that they need to adopt it so that they can create prosperity in their cities. If that continues to work and if Miami continues to be successful, then I think there's going to be a tremendous amount of options available for me politically if I decide that I want to continue to serve. And Maria, you know that if and when I ever come to that decision, I'll be discussing it with you because you've been wonderful with our city.
So when Biden is flying these people all over the fruited plain in the middle of the night, I didn't hear a peep out of those people, okay? I didn't hear a peep. I haven't heard a peep about all the people that have been told by Biden you can just come in, and they're being abused by the cartels, they're drowning in the Rio Grande. You had 50 that died in some shed in Texas. I heard no outrage about any of that. I haven't heard outrage about all the fentanyl that's come across the border that's killing Americans in record numbers. I don't hear outrage about the criminal aliens that have gotten through and have then victimized people not only in Florida but all throughout the country. I didn't hear any outrage about that. The only thing I hear them getting upset about is you have 50 that end up in Martha's Vineyard. Then they get really upset. And I'm sorry. Those migrants were being treated horribly by Biden. They were hungry, homeless. They had no opportunity at all.
But you still want to run for president?
I met Mayor Suarez down in Miami, and I thought he'd make a really good president also.
In addition to you?
An endorsement from Kanye West for you, Mayor. So are you running for president in 2024?
Well, first of all, Kanye has a pretty good track record of picking people. But look, I got a chance to spend a few days with him. And it's not too dissimilar to what happened to me a few weeks ago when I received Lech Walesa, the former president of Poland and freedom fighter and anti-communist fighter. I think, number one, what they see in Miami is a thriving city, a city where we've kept, reduced taxes to its lowest level. We're on the precipice of having the lowest homicide rate per capita in recorded history, and where we're number one in the nation in wage growth, and we're creating high-paying jobs. And I think they see that track record of success. They think about, what could happen if our country was succeeding on those three fronts. And then I think when they get to know me, they see someone who's fundamentally positive. And
Florida Governor Ron DeSantis has dodged any questions about a potential 2024 run for president, even as his name keeps popping up as a potential candidate. The governor says he's focusing on a re-election bid this year against a Democratic challenger, likely Charlie Crist or Nikki Fried. But if DeSantis does run for president in 2024, he may have the backing and the deep pockets of Elon Musk. On Twitter this morning, Musk responded to a story about Republican Mayra Flores winning a special election for Texas's 34th congressional district. I voted for Mayra Flores. First time I ever voted Republican. Massive red wave in 2022, Musk wrote. A Twitter user then asked Musk if he plans to vote for Republican for president also. Musk said that was to be determined. He then asked who he was leaning towards for president in 2024. DeSantis, he tweeted. DeSantis was asked about Musk's tweet during a news conference this morning in Madeira Beach.
So what I would say, I'm focused on 2022, but with Elon Musk, what I would say is, I welcome support from African Americans. What can I say?